That's no good. That's no good. Oh no, the stream died? Crap. Did it die for everyone? Hang on. Okay, we're back. Hello? Whoa, yeah, the whole chat is just full of the stream is dead. The stream is dead. Long live the stream. Say Enterprise if we're back. Okay, I'm seeing some Enterprises, so it looks like we might be back. Now I'm back. Wait! Okay, I'm waiting. The kitty was too fluffy for the stream to handle. Why Enterprise? Like the USS Enterprise? Yes. The office has a bunch of like memorabilia in it, and so whenever I do that, whenever I'm looking for something for you guys to say, I just look around the room and pick something. So that's why it's usually like Iron Man or Yoda or Mr. Data or stuff like that. Sometimes it'll be like I'll see something orange and say pumpkin, around Halloween or something like that. But yeah, there's a little model Enterprise in the room. It's just strangely, I'm guessing Enterprise was a code word that unfortunately I didn't get to hear. Yes. Mr. Data Yoda Enterprise. Nice. So it's looking like we're mostly back. Hellenic says it's restarted and it seemed to work. And there's your subscriber color. There's your slightly darker purple for the subscribers. Mr. Data Yoda Enterprise from Battlestar Galactica. Nice. Hi, kitty. What do you think? Are you mad about your chair? Are you mad that Bo stole your chair? Oh, but come here. Oh, but come here. You can have the table. Oh, you can have the table, little marshmallow. Alright. So did you guys get to hear Lee Strangely's note? Should I reread it? Should I reread it, kitty? Oh yeah. Snuggle, snuggle, kitty. Oh. What are you doing, Mo? Mako is back. Charcoal over ice cream, right. Did you hear the actual questions about the story? Rise. Got about 90% of the story questions. Gotcha. I guess I'll just reread them. Do Mary's powers seem... I'll read the whole note. With their first story together essentially acting as the sort of ending, I wanted to write happier moments from between them from back in their heyday, middle to late 1800s. However, the story is more descriptive and way less dialogue-centric compared to the previous, and because of that, I worry about, 1, do Mary's powers seem understandable enough? Does it make a difference knowing she's meant to be Bloody Mary? Does the writing itself seem bland or feel like things are rushing along? The heavy amount of descriptions, along with the word /character limit, have me fearing I didn't give this piece enough time to breathe or let the imagery shine. 3, romance isn't my usual choice, but lately I've been making attempts with it in my writing here and there. Since there's little dialogue to hide behind and carry it along, how well do you think this first meeting turned out? So, the first thing I was saying was that I think it's awesome that you are trying out something new. That romance isn't your forte, but you are trying it out. That is exactly what this writing group is for, and so I love to hear people doing that. And I can answer right away that the romance is great. I really liked that. And I think it was kind of neat that it isn't even their first conversation. Like, it's just their first interaction, and they're just kind of being playful together, and then it ends with the actual meeting, them actually saying each other's names. I think that is very cute, very cool, very unique way to do a romantic story, especially for a prompt like this. And so I thought that was neat. And I liked getting to see their first meeting and going from they're basically dying to, here's the first time they met. I think that's really neat. I can fix that. It says, Twitch subscribers don't get their own section on the list. I think it's just not set up, but I think I can do that. I'm assuming you mean on the side. Okay, so the beginning here, I like it, but I also think that it's a bit confusing, because I was going, like, is she protecting the kid or scaring the kid? Like, is she genuinely saying sweet dreams to a scared kid, or is she the one doing the scaring? I think she is the one doing the scaring, but especially because, like, some people will not have read the other Mary and Jack story. I do think that making it a little bit clearer, and I know that's weird to say, but making it a little bit clear, hey, she is in no way trying to protect her from the scary. She is the scary. And I will say, because this is another one I showed my dad, that he was confused at the beginning for different reasons than I was, because I read the other Mary story, and I know that you are a bad guy, but you're not a bad guy. I knew that, and so I believed that it was possible that she might actually be trying to help this kid, not just scare her. And for my dad, he actually had a very interesting thought where he thought she was the kid. He thought she died and her spirit went into the mirror, or that as she goes to sleep, all scared, that her spirit goes into the mirror or something like that. So I do think that that's some feedback, both from someone who knew the other story and someone who didn't, who were kind of confused at the beginning. And so I think making it a little more blatant that she is the scary monster. Oh no, there's another ad. Okay, the ad has passed. It's like a kidney stone. I've passed the ad. But I don't know. I don't know how much you missed. At least strangely, because I wasn't looking down. But basically, I was just saying that both myself and my dad were a little unsure about the beginning and what was exactly happening, but in two very different ways. And so making it a little more obvious that, hey, she is the scary monster, it's scaring the kid, it would help. I do think that part of it is also that, another thing I will say is my dad did not recognize that she was Bloody Mary, and so he was like, why is she covered in blood? Did she just finish killing this kid's parents? Like, what's going on here? Like, did she? That's part of why he thought that she just died, is like that she's covered in blood. The other thing, and then from my perspective, knowing that this is Bloody Mary, I guess I was kind of going, I don't really hear of kids doing the Bloody Mary ritual. That doesn't mean that they can't, but it seems much more like a teenage thing. And so I was like, so a kid summoned her and went to bed, and she's, saying sweet dreams and stuff like that. So yeah. Um, um, so it does. I will say to answer that question, having heard my dad's feedback, it does make a difference if you know that she is Bloody Mary. Um, and then I guess I'll actually talk based on your own comments. I think you're very good at being like self-aware of your own stories, because I feel like this happened another time that you had a note. I was like, you put into words what I was trying to say. So I do think that, well, I'll start with talking about Mary's powers. I do think that was one of the most confusing parts of the story and could use a little bit more clarity to help the story flow a bit better. And I guess part of it that affects the beginning too, and how the beginning ends up reading. But we have like this line of Mary rushed into the rooms beyond the reflection's reach, reappearing in the glass of the balcony doors. I was thinking that this means that like she can't physically be. Oh my goodness, that scared me.
You scared me, brother. Why are you doing that?
Either, like, I was thinking, it's like a, how to explain this? It's like a blip, kind of, that it's almost like she is, like, here in the reflection, and then she kind of goes through the back hallways and then pops out in another reflection, but it's not literal, it's, like, magical, kind of like, alright, I'm going through blackness and a new reflection. But my dad was definitely getting this impression that she like actually was going through the rooms, and so he was very confused, like, is she a physical entity or can she only show up in reflections? How can she rush through the rooms if she can only appear in reflections? I think actually making it much more of a blip would help a lot, like going to something like she
Oh, yeah.
Like going straight to the, like, Mary reappeared in the glass of the balcony doors, or Mary reached out and reappeared in the glass of the balcony doors. How would you describe that motion? Or maybe something like Mary searched for another reflection and reappeared in the balcony doors. I think that would help, just going straight from reflection to reflection instead of describing her rushing through the rooms that she can't reach. I think would help.
Good kitty. Good kitty. You stepped on the right part too. That's good.
And then I do think that regarding her powers, the most confusing part was this part here. I think what's going on here is that she's here in this reflection across the two houses, but she's able to stick her hand out of this other reflection. So, you know, it's like over here, and then you just see hand coming this way and catching the hat. That's really cool. I really like that, but I wouldn't have got it if a friend hadn't pointed it out to me. I definitely was confused because I was thinking, she's here, and then she blips over here to catch it, and then she blips back here, and then she blips up here to throw it up to him. And I'm trying to think how you could describe that better, because now that I know what it's supposed to be, I can totally see it. But I can also say that I wouldn't have seen it without help. God, I'm not quite sure. If any of you have any ideas, let me know. And then I was also like, this isn't too bad, but I was also a little confused about the Mary cradled her head as she leaned through the glass and into the outside, because usually you use those words to describe cradling like somebody else, like somebody else has their head in your lap and you're like cradling their head. And so I think what it means is this. She, like, sticks her face out of the mirror like this. But it's, I don't know, it's kind of an odd motion that threw me a little bit. Your sound is through my hearing aids. For positional sound effects are like through headphones, so it sounds like right in my room. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Oh no, you've said her name too many times. I guess I have.
I guess so, Kitty. I guess so.
Oh, Eris's flesh horse gallops in while Holy Diver by Dio plays in the background, does battle with the lag goblins. Yes. I thought what you were going to say is something like the flesh horse, you know, rides in to be like their ride to their date or something, because the flesh horse is perhaps a boogeyman of his own that would fit with Mary and Jack, and that is fantastic if so. If you decide to redo Flesh Horse, Lee Strangely, you could totally do that, to where you write about the Flesh Horse chauffeuring Mary and Jack around to their dates. So does the writing itself seem bland or feel like things are rushing along? The heavy amounts of descriptions along with the word/character limit have me fearing I didn't give this piece enough time to breathe or let the imagery shine. So it's very interesting to me, because I did feel like I got, even saying lost is too strong of a word, I felt like the details got muddy for me. Like what was actually like physically happening was getting hard for me to imagine. And part of it was not fully understanding Mary's powers, but I do think part of it is the descriptions. But the thing is, the descriptions are not bad. I would not say like that they are poorly written. And like reading them, like reading each piece, I feel like I can see what's happening. And it isn't, like I said, it's not like poorly described or anything. So I don't know exactly why it feels muddy, but it seems like maybe I am feeling the thing that you're fearing I might feel. I don't know that things felt rushed exactly, but maybe that's like giving things time to breathe. I think I don't know for sure if this is it, but I feel like I might need like more simple, punchy descriptions. Because there's like complicated things going on with like her powers and stuff like that. But like then again, you had a pretty simple description of how she did the hand thing. So I'm not really quite sure exactly why things felt muddy to me or how you might fix it. And I really hate saying that, because I want to be able to like help. If I have a critique, I want to be able to say, oh, here's how you could fix it. So like I said, I and if anybody in the comments has any thoughts, either disagreeing or agreeing or explaining or whatever, do let me know. But at the same time, even though there was a muddiness to it, I did like the gist of what was happening, as I was saying before. Like I can picture them like on roofs across from each other, you know, two boogeymen in the middle of their scares. And, you know, kind of flirting visually, and I can totally imagine him doing like the little hat rolly thing, you know, between his arms and stuff, and then her hand sticking out and tossing it to him. I think that's great. And even though like Mary's powers, I did have some confusions there, I really love her powers. I really think they're cool. I think they're just difficult to describe and would be difficult for anyone to describe, as I've shown, by not offering something better. But I really love their powers and their relationships. And like I said, I do think that it's cute that they flirt more like visually and tactilely instead of in dialogue here. I I do like the demon wings image too. I think that's great. And then I like the coo and purr. I think that's great. It seems very, very old-timey, flirty for sure. I do like the description of her blood-soaked hair, even though, like, I wanted more. And, you know, knowing this is meant to be spooky is pretty cool. and blowing out the candle, too. And then I love that she's, like, blood-curdling screams, like, terrifying and horrible cackling. Hard eyes, you know, like, I'm into that. Who's over here? I think that's great. And I do like the cocky schoolboy. I think that part was like the easiest thing for me to imagine. I really like that. I think Strangely is replying to his own question mark. But he says, I thought of her and Jack as spending their time scaring people, but will never outright harm or kill them. As a result, Mary cares for the children, but still enjoys scaring them. Okay, so that's why I was confused by if she's protecting or scaring. It was both. And two, I was trying to be more visual with the story this time around, and as a result, I was trying way too hard to find ways to show her mirror/reflection-related powers, while not just stating straight up, this here is Bloody Mary, here's how she works. Hey, yo, I'm Bloody Mary. I personally think I've developed an unfortunate writing quirk in much of my stories of avoiding any direct narration whatsoever. To be honest, I struggled figuring the right wording for certain actions. I feel like this is the kind of story where I would need to, making sure that I know your vision, go like, Kaylee, you try to write the same story, how would you write it? I feel like that's the only way that I would be able to fully give you good advice on how to describe it in a way that might be clearer to me. Because I do think that's a good instinct to not want to be like, here's Bloody Mary, and here's how she works, you know. But at the same time, I do think there are times when you do need a little bit of that in your stories. Like it did do in my tolerable story. There's a line of like, I've told you before that I've read romance novels, and that is an as you know thing. Or not, no, it wasn't that. It was, I've told you before, like, I've never dated anyone. I think that's what it was. Not in those words, but that idea. And so that is an as you know thing. I've told you before. But, like, nobody commented negatively on that. And so, like, sometimes with these stories, you kind of have to break the rules. You do have to do an as you know, or you have to be like, hey, yo, here's this thing. And of course, it's still a fine line to tread. You do still have to figure out how to do that without going overboard with it. But you do need a little bit of that in your stories.
Kitty.
Well, man, you try to look up something and you fall down a rabbit hole, and said rabbit hole contains the sentence, don't eat blackberries on October 11th because Satan peed on the bushes. I'm gonna need more context for that. Here's Aerith's original part before the hearing aids thing. Bella startled me too. I thought it was right in the room. And Coolish says I startled a bit. Well, it's good to know I wasn't alone. She just knocked something off. Like, it wasn't even something big. It was just a little, like, pouch that she knocked off the table. Iris says, it was quickly obvious to me that she was Bloody Mary, and it worked. The romance was okay, but his showing off was interesting, but went a little too long. But that's just my taste. I did wish for a bit more dialogue. Yeah, maybe that's a better way to describe it. That's, like, let's see. So they lock eyes, and he takes off his hat, and all of this is hat tricks. And like I said, it kind of works like if I look at each sentence, like there's no sentence where I'm like, this is a problem or this is confusing. But it is a lot for hat tricks. And so maybe simply cutting down the amount would help, perhaps. Wolf says, the Cornish thought that when Satan fell, he landed in a blackberry bush, that he got angry and peed on them. That's amazing. Massa, I almost was like, no, leave this without context. It's funnier that way. Fair enough. I mean, it's funnier without it, but I need it. She says, looks to be another minute 30 long 3-pack of ads for earlier. So have they all been like that? 3 packs of a minute 30?
Kitty, now you want out?
It's so funny to me. The chair is truly their throne. Whoever is not on the chair gets upset about it. Whoever is not on the chair is restless and wandering around the desk and the floor and wanting out and stuff.
It's very funny. It's very funny and cute.
And there's another chair right there. It's just not this chair. And so the other chair is not acceptable to them, apparently.
You're so cute. Yes, you are. Just a baby. Look at that face. It's just a baby. Oh, itchy. Oh, itchy baby. Oh, yeah. Itchy little face.
Alright. No one said future Kitty King. That's amazing. I mean, I guess you could do the once and future kitty as a prompt, but not king.
Uh-oh. Did I pet you too much? Have I dethroned you? You want outs now? Baby.
Alright. Let us go on to Death's Head's story. Thank you so much for submitting. Strangely, this was great. The once and future cat. I, for one, welcome our new feline overlords. Amazing. I'm sure you guys could write, like, meta stories where I answer to the cats that the cats are the actual supreme overlords of the stream, and I just answer to them. I have a cat, Sith, and Findveld, so I can work with that. Amazing. Alright. Let's go on to Death's Head's story. The Soothing Siren by Death's Head 419. The last orange rays of the sunset fell over a dingy burger joint. The back door clattered, Jonas tromping into the waning light with 2 trash bags. He hissed as he tossed them into the dumpster, the angry grease burn throbbing on his palm. Jonas ripped off his stupid red hat to throw it into the trash too. The looming threat of poverty forced him to stay his hand, ignore his burn, and face the heckling customers anew. He had one foot inside when his phone buzzed. His heart leapt upon seeing a text from his girlfriend, Lorelei. Like ancient hieroglyphs, she offered a night swim with only emoticons. He accepted at once, the thought of them together under the stars wooing him through the cruel shift. Stars twinkled in the indigo night as Jonas walked to the beach in swim trunks. Ahead loomed the ocean, the wash of waves echoing through the air. The old pier slowly formed from the gloom, Lorelei at the far end. Her white robe and golden hair glowed like a beacon. And Jonas rushed across the gap between them, old planks groaning as it came to her side. A coy smile curled Lorelei's lips before she shed her robe to reveal only skin underneath. diving into the dark waves below. Sun cheeks warm, Jonas hesitated. He toyed with his swim trunks before Lorelei splashed to the surface and upended his world. For she was a mermaid, her pink skin now dazzling blue scales, her legs an elegant fishtail. She reached up, Jonas taking her hand. There was a cool sensation as violet scales spread over his own skin. Jonas jerked back, the scales retreating to reveal anew the angry red burn. He hesitated only briefly, thinking of the miserable life ashore. He returned Lorelei's eager smile, slipping free of his trunks and letting her pull him into the soothing waves. Jonas changed quickly, scales spreading, gills opening, legs merging, feet fanning. He took a breath of cool water and hugged Lorelei, the two sharing a kiss before swimming together in the indigo depths of the sea. Those tailloids and tentacles, cheer for this story if you loved it. I can't read a story about a mermaid Lorelei without thinking of the song. I need to figure out who Lorelei. Blackmore's Night. Without thinking of the song Lorelei by Blackmore's Night. This was absolutely fantastic. Death's Head, you really knocked it out of the park with this one. I'd probably have to look at a list of your stories to know for sure, but this might possibly be my favorite story of yours to date. I absolutely loved it. Thank you, the cheers, Magistrate, and Ghoulish, last of my bits, says Ghoulish. We did it. Thanks for all the support. 10 out of 10. I guess it's just repeating that. Alrighty. So, the first thing I have to say overall about this story is that I think you did an awesome job with a twist. And twists are usually go negative. Like, usually you think, oh, everything's great, and then things aren't so great. And it's a little bit rarer for you to think, oh, things aren't gonna go so well, and then things are twisted and it's okay. I think partially because things being okay can often be not as exciting, can often be like all this tension and then, oh, it's fine, but that is not the case here. It still feels very climactic and really works. But I absolutely, I saw the name Lorelei. Well, I saw the title first, and then I saw the name Lorelei and, the text about the night swim, and I'm like, rest in peace, Jonas. You are about to get killed by your girlfriend. And then I was so surprised that she actually cares about him and that it is actually meant to be a positive time together. I thought that was wonderful. Thank you for the cheer. Death said, oh, screw it, one last. And there's a hype train. Awesome. And Ghoulish says that's 3. That is awesome. So there is Sheenie's story unlocked. Says soothing siren, not slaying siren. Obviously, it was going to be fine. I disagree, because I thought when I saw soothing siren, it's like, yep, you're going to arrive on an island and you're going to be like, wow, this lady and her singing, it's so soothing. I love it so much. And then you're dead. And then you're dead. Because, that is what happens, right? That the siren's music is soothing. And so I totally thought that it was like, yep, it's not actually gonna be soothing. It's just gonna lull you into false security.
Kitty, you want in? Nope, no kitty.
So I really liked that I totally thought that this was gonna be really bad, and was surprised to find that it actually wasn't, and it actually is a much greater twist, because the things going bad is the twist I'm expecting, and so in a way it's not as exciting. But me expecting, yep, okay, we get it, she's not gonna be so great, it's gonna be a problem, and then And then actually it is great. I think is awesome. I think it's great. So first of all, not a problem with the story, but dingy burger joint. Say that 3 times fast. I messed up on that a lot reading it because the G's and the J together, dingy burger joint, was hard to say. But anyways, I really love this. Well, I guess I need to talk about another overall thing about the story. This is what I teased earlier. So something that makes this story so good in my mind, and a large part of what makes it like top tier, like favorite tier for me, is that in addition to just being a good story, a fun tale, there is much deeper meaning. Like there's something that we haven't talked about a lot lately, but I really like it when stories are transcendent. And what I mean by that is stories can be made just to entertain, and they can be great stories and be awesome. But when a story is like, hey, I can relate to this in my life, and this can give me, advice in my life, or I can, this soothes me, as the reader. That I think is top tier. I really like it when stories do that. And so I feel like this story very much does do that, because even if you haven't worked at a dingy burger joint, surely you have dealt with the miseries of life ashore. And so, like, this whole beginning just feels so relatable, just being like, I'm having a sucky day, and then you get, the text from your girlfriend, and you're like, you know what, that makes my day better. I'm excited to go for a night swim with my girlfriend. That's really cool. I really like this line. Like, this line right here. Apparently there's something else we did. We did it. Thanks for all the support. What was it? Prop 95, dingy burger joint. Amazing. But this right here is a really amazing line, because the looming threat of poverty, already a great image, like a very powerful image, and like telling us like, hey, if he doesn't keep this job, like, poverty is going to come for him. Like, that's already very powerful. And then the phrasing of looming threat really works there. And then forced him to stay his hand is like it's the phrasing you'd use of if he has a sword and is about to like kill someone, and it stays his hand. He's gonna throw the hat away, throw his job away, but his hand is stayed. I think that's a beautiful image. And then ignore his burn and face the heckling customers anew. Like, that is so powerful and relatable to me, that this idea of like, I'm literally burned. Like, I'm literally compromised from doing my job, but I have to keep going because, like, nobody really cares. So nobody really cares about me, and I need this job, and I need to keep going. And so I have to ignore the pain I'm in and keep going. That feels very relatable and very, like, incites my sympathy very strongly. And then we have the heckling customers, and so it's, like, already, like, he's having he's already having a terrible time. He's in pain, and he has to deal with people treating him like crap. Like, again, that is so relatable and so sad. That, and I love that it is giving us immediately 3 reasons why he's miserable ashore, and 3 very relatable and very impactful reasons. The looming threat of poverty, like, he has to keep doing stuff he hates because he will be poor if he doesn't. He is literally physically hurt and has to keep pushing through that. And relationship-wise, like, he has to deal with people being mean to him. And those are 3 pretty good, pretty relatable reasons to not want to live ashore and be miserable ashore. And I think that is an amazing way to set that up so that we totally get it at the end.
Is there a key at the door? There is. Come
totally thought she was gonna kill him, yeah. Oh yeah, and I want to make sure that I got this right. So the burn is from earlier in the day, right? That he's like frying up burgers and then he accidentally burns himself. And he's already kind of been dealing with it for a little bit, and then he takes the trash out and he's like, oh, like that's smarts kind of thing. So there were only two things that that stuck out to me on, like, even on my first read. And one of them is this line here of "sunned cheeks warm." Well, it's pretty clearly established that it's night. And so when you say, like, sunned cheeks, I think the sun is shining on them right now. And it could be more of a tanned thing, like he's tanned. But I don't envision working at a burger joint, especially because he says, like, he's frying the burgers and he's taking out the trash and stuff. Seems very much like inside work, and so it didn't seem like, I didn't get an indication, oh hey, he's working at a job that he would get tanned in. It could still be that he just lives in a very hot place where, hey, that's gonna happen no matter what, but I've been given no indication of that, and so, you know, going from all this night imagery to sunned cheeks warm doesn't quite work for me. Doesn't really seem to fit. And then the other thing that stuck out to me is there's quite a bit of focus on what he's doing with his swim trunks, because we have, like, him toying with them, and then we have them get mentioned again down. Oh, wait, where is it? Oh, right here. That's living for you, his trunks. That made it really stick out. And it's like, he's taken off his swim trunks. You know? And I don't think that's what you intended. I think that it was just like, alright, I'm gonna take off my trunks now. And then she reveals herself as a mermaid. And it's like, I'm sorry, what? And he gets stopped. And then he resumes later. I think that's all he meant. But especially because you don't have too many words, I think taking one of them off and just having it be he either gets him off the first time or just having him get them off the second time would feel a lot more like, oh yeah, here's just like a setting detail or an action detail rather than like fan service, you know, rather than like he's getting him off kind of thing. And that might just be me. Oh no, there's an ad. Ad alert. Also, you guys can, if I don't know if you have any channel points yet. I mean, it seemed like MakoCam did, but if you have channel points, you can highlight your message when there's an ad, especially for a situation like this when it is your story. You could just be like, I got an ad, stop.
Kitty, you want in? Nope, kitty gone now. Those silly kitties.
It says he has 1882. Nice. Everybody's trying to resist making lewd comments. I don't know if that is for what I'm saying or against what I'm saying. I don't know if you're saying, yeah, like it does stick out and it makes me want to make lewd comments, or it's like, didn't stick out, but now it does. Alright, Death Set is back. I saw there's me all legs fusing body horror. But I guess, like, I do think he needs to get them off, you know, for the transformation, no doubt about that. I'm just saying that, like, when it says, like, oh, hey, like, it reveals only skin underneath, like, that can definitely be, like, a kind of thing, but it very much, to me, reads as, like, hey, this is just a thing that is happening. Here is your setting detail, said very neutrally. And the other one feels a little bit less neutral. Anyways. Let's see. I like him running across the pier. I think that's great. I also, when I first read this story, I thought that he already knew that she was a mermaid, and because this line of "for she was a mermaid" is very much like something you would say in like a fairy tale, and I do like that about the phrasing, but it seems it's not a very like third limited shocked thing. It's very much a like omniscient narrator. Aha, she was a mermaid. The story is in third limited, and so it kind of seems like he's very. It read when I first read it as like, yes, she was a mermaid. I knew this. And then I realized on the second read that this line of upended his world, I think, is meant to be, and because he has to stop with his trunks, that he's just like, well, what? And so if that is the case, or he did not know ahead of time, I feel like I need a little bit more. And granted, I doubt you had the words for it, and that's probably why there isn't a lot of shock here, is because you didn't have a lot of words. But I do think that you could rephrase these two things, because these two things are very detached. And when it's in third limited, it makes him feel very detached and like, oh yeah, she's a mermaid. And so, like you could even say something like Lorelai splashed to the surface and he froze, eyes wide. Like even something as simple as that would be like, yeah, he has shock. And you could even just go straight to like, you know, Lorelai splashed to the surface, and he froze, eyes wide. Her pink skin was now dazzling blue scales, her legs an elegant fishtail. Like I think that totally would convey some shock to me, more than just a detached like, yes, she is a mermaid, you know. So my favorite part of the story is this part for sure. I absolutely love and this goes back to what I was talking about, that yeah, you could write a story about, you know, a dude becoming a mermaid, and that would work and be cool, but the fact that you put something more realistic and relatable in there, of this idea of, hey, like regular life on shore that all of us have to experience, is kind of sucking. And so having it be not just like, cool transformation, you know, cool, he's a mermaid now. It's like, you know, the scales, he feels the, you know, the cool sensation, and then he's like, oh, and he's a little freaked out and is hesitating. And then when he hesitates, the burn comes back, and like that physical burn is like this symbol for life above the shore, for the miserable life above the shore. And it's like, when with, you know, the scales, then the burn will be gone, and I won't have this pain anymore. And so that is such a great way to do that, and like using that physical symbol that you set up earlier as this idea for kind of his whole life, this symbol for his whole life. Absolutely fantastic. Like, this is the book we should all try to take a page out of with our Tale Foundry stories. Like, having a very clear cut, like, this thing is a symbol for this bigger thing, and then it comes back at the end. Just really, really does a lot, and helps the story. The human world is a mess, yes. And then the Jonas changed quickly thing helps a lot, because once again, I do feel like maybe there should be a little more shock or a little more lingering on the transformation. But at the same time, you don't really have the words to do that. And so I do think that little caveat of he changed quickly, here are the ways he changed, helps a lot to be like, hey, he changed quickly, I'm about to describe how, like, the quick changes. And so, because if you didn't have that, I probably would have been like, I want more, you know, I don't want just a list of what happened, I want more emotion, I want more lingering. And so it's just saying, hey, this went by very fast, and then showing us in the writing it going by fast really helped a lot. And then the kiss is cute and like reaffirming like, hey, it's good stuff. And this is not her trying to kill him. And I'm also wondering if she knew that, because this doesn't really matter to the story. The story works without answers to these questions, but I do have questions about like her and how like the world building and how it works. And like, first question is, was she like able to walk on shore? Because it seems like she was when she's like on the pier and stuff, and she has a phone. At least we don't know if this is a phone that the mermaids found on the beach. We don't know if the mermaids all have one phone that they share, but she has a phone and she at least could walk on the dock. And so it could be that potentially it very much like the end of the story seems like, hey, he's completely leaving the world above behind. But considering she could walk on shore, presumably, to be his girlfriend, he might be able to come back on shore too. Like, it seems like it might be kind of a Luca situation, perhaps. And then the phone thing is another question. And then another question is, like, is it kind of a situation of she's looking for her soulmate and the mermaids are like, yes, here's our ritual, go up to the shore, or it could even be like maybe they have to marry a human. Like, it could either be the humans are options. you have a whole... What would be the opposite of there's plenty of fish in the sea? It would be like, there's plenty of squirrels on shore. You can pick one. You don't have to limit yourself. The whole debacle with Ariel, like, we're not doing that again. It's okay. If you want a prince upstairs, you can do that. So I don't know if it's a situation of her like going against rules, going for rules, whatever the rules are. And then it's also like a question of, like, did she know that he was miserable? Like, is it a situation of, I think you're great. I'm great. You're great. So we're great together. No, I guess I should have done the wicked thing. I'm perfect. You're perfect. So we're perfect together. Or if it's kind of this situation of like, you know what? This poor boy, he ain't having a good time. I think he'd like it downstairs. I think he'd like it in the sea. He's my choice. That I just saw Prompt 195, plenty of squirrels ashore. Amazing. Yeah, so, like, none of that is necessary to understand or enjoy the story, and the fact, like, this is very much, I talk about, like, intrigue and confusion. This is very much an intrigue situation where I'm like, I want to know more about this world and what came before and what comes after. I'd love to read more stories in the universe, but story totally works without having answers to any of those questions. And also, I don't think I mentioned that I do really like that she just, like, talks in only emoticons. We don't know that that's how she always talks, but it definitely helps in making her seem like both cute and alien. Like, she doesn't talk throughout the story, and so that enhances, like, she feels like this, like, there's this underwater being who maybe communicates differently from, like, people with the words on land. And especially the comparison to hieroglyphs, like ancient hieroglyphs, makes her seem like this ancient being as well. But it also, like, emoticons are very playful, and so it also makes her seem very playful when you know that she ain't gonna eat him. And so I think that is very cool. This says, I don't know if you mentioned it, but did you pick up on the use of color? Well, I liked the colors. I don't think I noticed the symbols, but like, it was very vivid. Like, I liked the like white robe and golden hair that glowed like a beacon. I could very easily imagine that. And then her scales are blue, and then his are purple or violet. And I liked that. I liked that they that they were like different colors, and it shows their individuality. That's like, hey, like when you become a mermaid, you're not just like taking on my traits. Like you are your own individual, with your own looks and life and stuff like that. And so if you meant some symbolism by the colors that you used, I wasn't really seeing that, but I really did like the colors that you used a lot and the mentions of it. Let's see what folks have been saying. I don't know what's going on in the not so private chat. Wolf says colors, reds/warm colors for the surface, blue cool colors for under the sea. Ah, yeah, that makes sense. Like the red at the beginning, very jarring and jarring, and then at the end, you know, the cool colors enhance the cool feeling for sure. Let's see over in the public chat. Burger can also mean citizen, and I have not heard this. So Burgermeister is citizen master. Oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, he put his hand down on something and got cooked. Gotcha. Grease burns are pretty bad indeed. Oh, I see. It's related to Burg being a town, like Hamburg or Nuremberg in German. So I always thought Burgermeister is a town master. Gotcha. Oh no, that's a typo. It's supposed to be stunned as he's surprised that his girlfriend just did that. Oh no! Yeah, that would have worked perfectly if that was that, and might have even helped with my other critiques about wanting him to be more shocked. That is a great image, knowing what it is. Cat's toffee trunks become mermaid. That's awesome. Yep, he must remove his trunks, or otherwise they'll get entangled in his legs fuse. Yeah, you don't want your dumb swim trunk pattern to now be permanently on your mermaid tail. Mr. Strangely. Talking about mermaid hanky-panky, and Mr. Strangely goes, "You're too late! I already wrote a story with a human having a mermaid child. Your realism won't be able to stop me." Nice. I was totally thinking about that story as I was reading the mermaid stories here, too. Yeah, magical creatures can do whatever we want. Aaron, we also keep calling him a mermaid. This would also be curious if he turns into a mermaid, not a merman. Good point. There's plenty of squirrels in the trees. Yeah, exactly. There's plenty of burger boys and dingy burger joints. Just imagining mermaids talking about dingy burger joints like a magical land. There's plenty of burger boys to go around, children. Amazing. Yes, this was a fantastic story. Death said, you really knocked it out of the park with this one. Absolutely loved it. Now I'm thinking of mermaids with their tails having ironic Hawaiian shirt flower patterns. People made Hawaiian shirts based off of mermaid tails. That's awesome. Anywho, it's now time to go on to the midstream question. It's a lot later than I thought it was. I thought it was going to be like 4 or 5, but it is almost 6. But yeah, so I'm sure that you guys remember, well, a lot of you will remember the conversation that occurred based on a question that Norman asked in the writing group chat. And I was talking about it on the stream. I actually was intending to like make a whole stream to chat about it because the conversation was very, very deep and intense. But I still, even though I didn't do that, I'm kind of still interested in maybe having a smidgen of that conversation here too. So I just copied the last bit of his question to chat about. Hopefully we won't go too long with it, but here is the question. For you folks who write entirely in one universe, who are working on one big project, what drives you? What motivates you? How can I, someone who seemingly has commitment issues when it comes to writing, actually write something bigger and more ambitious? So, yes. Alrighty. So, I will go take a little snack break and then come back. But yes, you guys have fun answering that. And if you already answered before and don't have anything more to say, I guess you could just condense your answer from before and plonk it in again. But yes, let's get our tunes. See you in a sec. I have returned. I have returned looking worse, apparently. Alright, so I never got the chance to actually answer the question, so I guess I will start by answering myself and then reading what you guys have to say. And I do think that people did... I still have stuff in my teeth. I think people did talk about this in the chat the other day. But for me, who writes in one big universe, what drives me is I love my characters. I love my characters. I love writing about them. And that's something that is really fun to me about being a writer, because like when I started this story like over 10 years ago, Xavion was actually the villain, and like there weren't really any plans for redeeming him or anything. He just was actually the villain. But as a villain, I thought he was so cool and badass that I liked him more than the protagonist that I had. And so as time went by, like my focus was more and more on him and less on the main character. And so he just became the main character. And something very similar happened with Victor. I don't actually remember the whole process, but I remember it being rather similar, that Victor was kind of going to be like a smaller role, but I really liked his character, and as I just kept, world building in my head and stuff, I just liked him more and more until like he became a character from whose perspective I would write. And so like that is something. What was that?
Kitty, hey boo. I came to get him. I came to get the bubble.
So that is something that I find really fun about, like, actually not just reading a story, but actually being the author of the story, is that whatever you like about your story, whatever you like about stories in general, first of all, whatever you like about stories in general, that's the story you can tell. Like, whatever themes and like cool tropes and stuff or whatever you like, you can write about that. And then the other thing is that you can like pick the characters that you want to write about. And so even within your universe, if you're like, you know what, I think I'm liking this character more than this other character, you can do that. You can pivot and be like, nope, this one's the main character now. And so especially like being able to do that, like I just really love my characters and love writing about them and love like building the world in my head.
Oh, you're so cute. What is it, baby?
And so like just that is a lot of what drives me, is just like actually wanting to write about these characters. Because like one-offs are great, and like if if you don't know, when I first joined Tale Foundry's writing group, I did write one-offs. I did write just a different, unrelated story every week. They're great, and it can be really fun to like try to take the prompt in particularly fun and interesting directions and stuff, and create a cohesive story that's very short.
Yeah, you want out? Okay, baby.
But for me personally, that's just not as fun as being like, I have a whole cast of characters and a whole world of characters, and I just want to write about them every week. I want to use these prompts to write about them every week, That is so much more fun to me than writing one-offs. It's so much more motivating. But I also feel like not everyone is necessarily like that. I think for some people, it's like they like that better. They like the getting to do something new every week and create a new like cast of characters, or at least a character every week, is potentially more fun than having a whole cast and continuing to write different stories in that same universe. And so it's possible that maybe you, Norman, are in that camp. Maybe you are in the camp of, I like creating like a new story and a new cast every week much more than I like having a established cast and writing a different story, you know, every week about that cast. And I don't know if I'd be able to I don't know if I'd be very good help if that is the case, because if that is the case, we're kind of on opposite ends of the spectrum. But yeah, and I think I've talked about this before, that I'm a very like character driven like fiction enjoyer in general. Like, of course, plot is important, but I can handle a plot that isn't great if the characters are amazing, if I can really fall in love with the characters. And a story can have an amazing plot, but if I don't love the characters, probably not going to love the story. So like that is my jam, both in reading and writing. Oh, and that reminds me of the other thing I was going to say, which people did talk about the other day as well, which is that fan fiction is a great place to start, just to start writing in general. And for me, at least, I think part of what makes it such a great place to start is that idea, like, if you love something, you're going to want to write a lot about it. And that's kind of what fan fiction is like. Like, if you like these characters in this universe or this ship or whatever it is, like, you're gonna want to write about it. And fan fiction is really nice because you already have the established world, and so you don't have to think about how does the economy work. It's already there. It's already, you know, laid out in before you, and so you just have to get in the sandbox and play with the little action figures that you already like, instead of creating the whole sandbox from scratch. And so I do think that is great advice, to start with fan fiction. Start with something you already know you love. Start with something that you don't have to create from the ground up, and it will learn you. It will teach you skills about writing and stuff. I wish that I was remembering better the first part, because you talked about like the commitment issues more in the first part of your story. But I guess like the first question to like how can you with these issues like write something bigger and more ambitious would be kind of figuring out, where do you write from? What drives you in general? What makes you want to sit down and write? What makes you write for the Tale Foundry prompts? And knowing in like what your baseline of what drives you is, because like I said, like for me, characters drive me, not just in my own writing, but in reading and experiencing fiction in general. And so you might have something like that too. What drives you in fiction in general, and then that's probably what you need to tap into to be able to write something longer. I don't know what Wolf is trying not to laugh about. I don't know if I said something wrong or if I said something actually funny. Okay, let's see. I'll start with the Discord chat.
Is there a kitty? Yeah, there's a kitty. He came right in. Diddle-doo. Diddle-doo, little kitty boo. Yes.
Okay. Wolf says, what drives me? Mainly the fact that I have all these ideas in my head and I want to talk about them. The problem is, I suck at talking. I'm a very introverted person. If I want to talk, I tend to get shouldered out of conversations. Aw. Thus my social anxiety constantly eats away at my willpower by chanting the mantra of, shut up, no one cares, that's in the back of my mind. Aw. I figure if I write it, those who are interested will find it eventually. Now, if I could only finish something instead of getting new ideas. Very fair. A lot of that is very, very relatable. But yeah, I like that. That it's like, I want to talk about my ideas, but I can't talk, so I write them, you know. It reminds me of the line in the song Control by Halsey that Oh, I forget what the first version of the line is, but like the second version is, they beg me to write them, so I'll never die when I'm dead, referring to her demons, that they beg me to write them, so I'll never die when I'm dead. And so like that, I really love that line, especially because, let me find the lyrics, because it's like a mirror of, another line. Oh, yeah, okay. So, I guess it says villains? I remember it being demons, but it says here, I'm well acquainted with villains that live in my head. They beg me to write them, so they'll never die when I'm dead. And I've grown familiar with villains that live in my head. They beg me to write them, so I'll never die when I'm dead. That's the mirror, is that it's they versus I. But I absolutely love those lines as a writer, because that is very much how it feels sometimes, that it's like, yeah, I've got villains in my head, I got demons in my head, and can only exercise them through writing. That, you know, and there, it's cool because like the first line is like, we'll live forever if you write us, and it's extra villainous, but then the second time is like, I'll never die, is like, I will live forever through my writing. And so there's like this weird twisted hope to it that I think is cool. But anyways, all that was from what you said about like, you know, I have these things in my head and they're begging me to write them, or they're begging me to talk about them, but I can't talk about them, so I write them. That kind of thing.
Oh, kitty. You want out again? What do you want, baby? You just don't know. You just don't know what he wants.
Death's Head says, to answer the questions best I can, a man with multiple unrelated stories, I set myself 2 goals. I'll work on my longer stories at least a little bit every day, and I'll hit a daily word count. Sometimes this means I'll put in 60 words for my main story and 1,000 on a shiny new idea I just jotted down. Other times I'll put in 600, 400 on my main stories. It means that no matter what, I'm making progress, working to a goal. And then I have room when inspiration for something entirely new flares up in me. Sometimes that means forcing myself to write, and sometimes the forced writing is bad. But sometimes it's good. Sometimes I sit down to write 100 words and I get inspired to write 500. And sometimes the words I force out are the best I've put down so far. And there are stories where I had to write them the wrong way before figuring out how to write them the right way. And some are just crap all the way through. But now the story is on the done pile. Ideas out of my head, and I never have to think about it again, which is a relief all on its own. This is fantastic advice. I absolutely love that. And also, when you said just crap all the way through, makes me think of turtles all the way down, but instead it's crap all the way down. But I love that. Yeah, that is great advice. That's like, just set yourself a goal to write every day. And if even that feels too big, just have your goal be, I'm gonna write 50 words every day. And if that's your goal, like, you're actually probably gonna write more. But if you just write 50, you hit your goal, you know. And you're so right about sometimes it's going to be crap, and that I think is something that new writers really have to come to peace with. It's something I definitely had to come to peace with, where there were so many ideas that I had as a kid, as a teenager, that I never started writing because I was afraid that once I wrote them down, they would be crap. And they would have been, exactly. But that's the point. Like, if you have crap in front of you, you have something to work with. But if you have nothing in front of you, you can't work with that. And so now, today, like, I have forgotten those ideas that I was so consumed by because I wasn't willing to put the crap on the page. I wasn't willing to write anything down. And so, absolutely, I think that that is great advice. Massa says, so what's motivating me to keep at this? Well, for one thing, I have someone that actually wants to read what happens next to my characters. Writing for an audience maybe isn't the best motivation, but it is an effective one. After that, blind stubbornness. My long project is happening because I'm willing it to. Also, sometimes it's hard to find the time, inspiration, or motivation to make it work, but I will plow ahead. Darn it, that's the spirit. Yeah, that's a great point, too, that sometimes it is really helpful to have an audience. And I think that's something that's helpful for, regarding the writing group as well, that I do know that sometimes, actually, I do know that sometimes some people don't get reviews. And I do think, like, if you guys see that as you are looking through the stories, please don't hesitate to give that person a review, even if it's just, like, good job, even if it can't be your thoughtful, review 195 review. Like, them hearing, like, hey, I liked this, is at least something, that they're getting. And I do apologize that I am... And sometimes I don't even get my 2 reviews done. So I'm pretty bad at that. So that's why I'm allocating it to you. But yes, if you see that, don't hesitate to say something. But yeah, like, I think, like, in this writing group is great at that. Like, having you find an audience for your stories, even if your audience is 2 people. Like, that helps you be like, yes, I want to write more because people are going to like it. And I do think that is something that, like, you can definitely go, I like this author. I like their writing style. I want to read more from them. And I do think that is how I feel about you, Norman, for sure. But there's also something to be said about how this writer writes in this one universe, and I want to hear more about these characters. I want to keep going. Regarding these characters. So there is something to be said about that as well. That having someone who's like, yes, I want to read more, makes you go, well, maybe I need to give some more. Maybe I need to write more about these characters then. And yeah, like, it can be an issue if that's your only motivation. Like, that could cause problems for sure, but I don't think that it is inherently a bad thing to be like, I'm writing so people will read it. Norman says, writing them the wrong way first resonates. Talking about the April Fool's prompt, I already know which story I want to rewrite. Even though I hadn't considered rewriting it before the stream, I already know how I want to write it better. Nice. Corinne says, I sometimes have the same issue when trying to go for longer pieces. I've looked at videos, books about different aspects of writing, from book outlines. I've watched some videos over and over to try and flesh out a bigger story. One of the stories I'm turning into a bigger project started from one of the writing group prompts here. Oh, that's awesome. For that particular one, what keeps me wanting to go back and continue is that I haven't seen a lot of people write a story like I had submitted for the prompt. I don't doubt something like it exists, but I find it interesting to explore more. The hard part for me is ironing out all the scenes. What I want to happen, how I want it to happen, what lore do I need for me to write, and what will make sense for the audience and not give too much exposition. I haven't wrote a novel before, and there's a lot for me to learn still, and also finding time and energy to keep persisting. When it comes to writing prompts here, I like to create new characters and universes, and most of the prompts I'm content to leave as is, but still could go back and expand if I wanted to. There's so many things I want to write. I've started another novel before the one I mentioned above, but don't particularly like what I have now. I have to go back and redo it, and I think I have something, but just haven't taken the time to figure out the details. Just try to stick with one, even though I don't some days. Learn more about novel writing from multiple authors. Write what you love, write what you want to see more of, and since joining the group, I've written more than I ever have, even if it's small pieces of fiction. That is awesome. I'm so glad that this group helps encourage you to write more. And that makes sense too. Like you're saying, your motivation is, I didn't see anybody else take with this prompt. It seems like a unique idea, and I think people will like it. I think that is great too. It's something that you do have to be careful with, and I definitely know the feeling. But you do have to be careful with it because if you're too attached to like this is unique, no one's ever written it before, then it can be an issue as well. I just see people responding to what I'm saying about I'm always late, I suck at reviewing. I'm not great either. Varies widely for me. That's true. Erin says, a lot of people who say they don't think they make good reviews make some great reviews. It's true. Masta says, I will also admit I do like the characters and story I'm writing, so some of it's for me, but knowing someone else wants to read it helps. For sure, yeah. I do think that's a good way to go about it. Like, the baseline should be, I like it, I'm into these characters, even if no one's reading about them, I still like them. But the other person wanting to read about them is a good booster to go, oh hey, I like them and you want to read about them? Well, look at this. Well, let's do it. I'll give you something, And I think that helps because like I said, like for me, I was stuck in the it's all in my brain phase for a very long time. And so having someone who's like, hey, I want to read about it. And if you hand me your heart, I'm not going to crush it. So, like, I'm going to be nice. I'm going to give you good comments. Then that really helps you go, oh, I actually want to produce something now. Like, it's great in my head, but they can't read what's in my head. So that makes me want to actually do the act of writing. Norman, that idea of uniqueness is relatable. I've written a story unlike any other. Behold and admire my incredible brain. Amazing. Going to the public chat. Yes, we have had long preambles. That is probably why things are maybe later. Hard question, yeah. Ooh, Mr. Strangely says that you made the mermaid story into a little bit of a novel, a couple chapters. Send that over. I love that story. Hellenic says, I just saw Mr. Strange like, I don't care if it's new. It's mine. Totally. It says, write one chapter at a time and make sure each chapter is interesting. Each chapter should be something you want to write. If you don't want to write a scene, then don't write it. Just make it one of the in-between narration bits. Generally, if you don't want to write it, readers will thank you for passing it over. Yes, that can definitely be true, and that's something that I've like struggled with in my own writing because I'll try not to go too into it, but there's like, I mean, it goes back to what I was saying that. Oh, there's Meow. The universe that I currently write in had a different main character, and then I fell in love with Savion and focused more on him and made him the main character. And as his character grew and flourished, I liked the original main character less and less. And so I was thinking, oh, I just have to push through. I just need to write her because she has to be there. And then I was like, well, if you don't like her, your character, your readers are going to notice. Your readers aren't going to like her either. And so you have to make her something. You have to make her someone that you actually like, so that readers will like her. And boy, howdy, it's been a process. But yeah, I totally agree that if you don't like something, it's likely it will come through. There are occasionally scenes that you still have to write, even when you don't want to, that can't be skipped over. But I do think for the vast majority of cases, if you don't want to write it, then the readers will notice. And thank you. Oh yeah, this I guess this is my niche, because one of my most beloved and remembered stories from Lee Strangely is the story about female Blackbeard pirate having a mermaid daughter. And one of my favorite stories from Norman is about a siren having a child and the child going to the shore to look for his dad. And so I guess siren and mermaid stories are kind of my thing. Mark says, what drives me? Technically, death and sadness. Well, not in a sad way, but we only have a certain amount of time to make our mark and get our stories out there way. But as I said in the original, there is some ego in there as well. I want to have a big popular series that has fanfics and TV shows and theme park rides, and on the whole, I want a career I enjoy. Very, very fair. Yeah, very, very different answer there, and in some ways a sad answer, but that is also very fair. That it's like we only have so much time, and I want to do something I like, so like I'm gonna press onward even when it's hard. Hellenic continues their answer. This makes it easier to genuinely look forward to each chapter you write. You always want to be having fun with the process. When I was writing The Beautiful Beast, I generally spent the first part of each chapter eating my veggies, just describing a few paragraphs what happened in the 3 or 4 weeks and months between each chapter so that I could spend the rest writing the good bits. And that also reminds me of something else to mention about that, is that, for me at least, that's something that really helps with these Tale Foundry pieces, because I don't know why, but I just really struggle to do things chronologically. And I mean, there's other reasons for that, but the pieces in the writing group, the prompts allow you to jump around. Like, you don't have to go in chronological order, and so allowing you to just write, just be like, okay, write whatever you want, for me really does that for me, where it's like, yeah, like you don't have to like write something that you're not enjoying. Just like pick a scene from your story that you will enjoy, and maybe in the end I will be able to patchwork them together. I will be able to Frankenstein them together. Eric, I got relieved of my duties just for the midstream question. That's precisely one I can't answer this time. Fair enough. Miko says, enjoying the characters, developing the world, getting people to recognize and enjoy their stories and development. Beta version of a book I'd like to write. Make something to make others feel the excitement and love I feel for other stories. To be short enough to fit in this comment. That is amazing. Very, very fair. It's kind of a combo of some of the other answers we heard. Like I said, I think you were the one who initially talked about that back in the original conversation too. Norman says, maybe I need to start reading again to figure out what it is I used to love about stories. I quit reading a few years ago. For what reason? I'm not sure. Blame my waning attention span. Very fair. Well, I hope that my reading classical literature on streams helps you get back into reading, and if I can figure out what I want to do with this book club, maybe it'll help too. But yeah, that is very fair. Oh, it was for Hoist the Sails. Lee Strangely's Mermaid story. In Chimera, I straight up can't write long form. I either write all at once or I come back and absolutely hate it. Too many opinions and not enough flesh. Fair enough. Arachnar seems to have answered anyways. Says, I have a few universes. I occasionally come back for them for the prompts. But for the prompts, I prefer to do standalones. My other stories lend themselves better to long format. And when I get into my recurring universes, most of the time I don't think I'd be able to write them for the prompts. But on that, when I write longer stories, it's mostly to experience ideas. I tend to go high concept on these, or different writing structures. Try a lot of different editing shenanigans for when writing longer fiction. That's fair too, yeah, it can be, I want to explore this idea. I have this idea and I'm just driven to explore it in its fullness. And, or I want to explore a writing device. Very, very fair. And nice. Encores says, I love Who Is in Control. It was one of my favorite songs a while ago. Nice. And prompt 196, crap all the way through. The paper isn't strong enough to contain my crap. And just imagining a writer like trying to write, just doing their best, and the paper just caves underneath them. They're like, it sucks too badly. How am I supposed to get anything done with all this crap on my desk? The pen might be stronger than the sword, but is the blank page stronger than the crap? Nice. Nice, Majesty Ironlung. I will admit that I've written multiples more since joining the writing group in 2020 than I wrote in my entire life beforehand. Fair enough. Mark says, I can fully admit to writing on the whole way more since joining the writing group. That is awesome. I'm so glad to hear that the writing group is able to do that. Raknar, pro tip, procrastinate by writing. That will make you write a lot more. Nice. Mark said, I procrastinate by writing so much. If I'm not doing it during my work commute, I'm probably putting off dishes or something. That's awesome. 18th century female poet Angry and Jonathan Swift Jonathan Swift over a poem he wrote. I'm glad you'll write. It will furnish paper for when I shout. Seriously. That's amazing. Alright, well, this was a very fun conversation, and I do hope to hear some updates on the journey, Norman. But thank you so much for asking. Let us go on to MQI. MQI, I don't believe I saw any questions from you in the notes, so if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. And I do want to set timers here, so once I finish reading the story, don't let me forget. So I'm going to hold my phone to hopefully remember, but I'll set the timer. Alright. A Lover's Symphony by MQI. Content warning, cult psychology. I sat trembling behind my desk, clutching my revolver in shaky hands. Beside me, flames licked at the sides of my cross-hatched metal trash can, as blackened pages of an ancient text I once revered curled up in the heat, never to be read again. It mattered not, however. There had been a time where its burning may have halted her coming, but that time has passed. She's already breached the planar gates we, who'd once called ourselves her harem, built. She promised us love, safety, comfort, an embrace so warm and cozy that even the most soothing lover would be put to shame. And maybe that is still true. But the love she offered was not love as we know it. I can still conjure the earliest memories of our contact. Whispers of sweet nothings in my ears. The singing of uncountable female vocals, echoing through my very being. Our eager conversations performed through the text I now so hastily set ablaze. She'd come to me in a time of need, when I so desperately wanted someone else by my side, when I so desperately wanted someone equal. How could I not have seen it, when I myself had done just the same, to gather my own following? Though she may have been the literal monster, I was just as monstrous. When she breached through the gates, we cried in joy. Cries turned sour as her true, unholy nature seeped through the crack we chipped away in our own reality. She absorbed them. I remember hearing the vivid cries of my followers, her followers, as they sunk further into her embrace, until there was nothing of them left. Coward at heart, I fled. I ran as fast as I could, then I drove as fast as I could. But it's too late. Soon everyone will be united as her lovers, united as her. As tears begin to well into my eyes, I can hear it in the distance. That lovely singing goes ever so faintly. Even through my terror, I cannot help but slip a bittersweet smile. Throughout those taloids and tentacles, cheer for the story if you loved it. Timer time. Alright. I just see now I want McDonald's. What are you talking about? Oh, alas, ad time. I see it was an ad for McDonald's. And Mr. Strange got a crappy insurance commercial. You guys are spinning the commercial wheel. Massa has to go, but it was great to have you, Massa. The kitties are being good. Bo finally settled down on the other chair at long last. That ending was changed, wasn't it? It was? What was it before? I don't think I ever saw the first ending, if it was changed. But I very much enjoyed it. I was honestly surprised by how much I enjoyed the story, because when I saw the content warning, I was like, oh, this is gonna be spooky, y'all. I don't know how I'm gonna feel. But as I read it, like I said, I was very much enjoying it. And I think part of it is that the main character realizes his sins, realizes the pain that he's caused, the problems that he's caused, and that makes things... You guys know I like redeemable villains, and that nudges more into that territory, and I really like that a lot. And I like that someone went truly Eldritch with it. This very much feels like, especially after reading, playing Sucker for Love, and, like seeing the Eldritch horror outside the door and being like, all right, chant it away. It totally has very similar vibes, to this story, and I really liked that. What's I gonna say? I think I'll just go from the beginning. Okay. I might come back to the revolver, but I do have a thing to say about that. So, beside me, and I should have fixed that typo, beside me, flames licked at the sides of my cross-hatched metal trash can, as blackened pages of an ancient text I'd once revered curled up in the heat, never to be read again. This sentence was something I easily tripped on, and I do think there's a little too much going on in this sentence. I think it should be split into two, something like, beside me, flames licked at the sides of my cross-hatched metal trash can. Period. Blackened pages of an ancient text I once revered curled up in the heat, never to be read again. I think that would make it flow a lot more nicely. Why you burn it then? So, there is also a question of, if it's not going to work, why is he burning it? I thought that it was kind of a breakup symbol sort of thing, especially with the prompt, that it's like, it's not going to do anything, but I don't want to have this anymore. I don't want to have this reminder of our relationship, and I want to, do this gesture, even if it won't actually stop her. I am still going to do the gesture. That is what I was thinking for what it meant, but there was a slight question there of why are you burning it if it's not going to do anything. I'm also curious. This is something I didn't realize at first, but so is the situation that she talks to him through the book, and then he's like, oh, you're so great, like I want you to come over, I want you to come to my house, come to my planet. And then he gathers followers to be like, yeah, don't you all want her to come to our house? We can be her harem. And then it's like, time to build the gate so she can come to our house. They're building the gate and stuff like that. But there is this question about the gates. Did they build the gate for her, for her to have a way to get to Earth? And they thought, it would be great. But then once she actually arrives, the main character's like, I've made a mistake. But you do use the word breached in both cases. She breached the planar gates, and she breached through the gates. And breached means that they were closed, and she forced her way through. Breached is very much like, hey, the gates weren't open. She's not supposed to come through. She breached the gates. But if her harem built the gates, then they're her gates. Of course she's going to be able to get through them. And so it does feel a little odd that the word breached is used, if I'm interpreting it correctly, that they built it so she could come through to their world. I do like the romantic images that you have, like the cozy embrace, the harem and stuff like that. I think it's a very interesting take on the prompt. I'm curious do you guys, were you guys wanting more? Did you want more of a girlfriend aspect to the prompt, or do you feel like this story satisfied it completely? But regardless, I like it. I think it's a unique way to talk about like a cult and eldritch horror, and I like that. And I really like this line of like, the love she offered was not love. Like, that's our first indication, like, oh, he recognizes like this is actually a problem. I think that's cool. I don't know how I feel about the whispers of sweet nothings, and like it kind of works because you're using the girlfriend imagery, and that's like a girlfriend image. But also it feels kind of odd. I feel like I want something that's a little less casual, or a little less, I don't know, like a little less casual and more easily applicable to, the whispers of an eldritch deity kind of thing. I do like the singing, and it's very interesting, like uncountable feminine vocals. Like I said, it reminds me of that image in Sucker for Love in the 3rd chapter, where you walk outside and there's like this being there, and it speaks with multiple voices and kind of thing. Like, there, in this case, it's like one creature with like, a choir of a voice, and I think that is really cool. And then I like, that the mention of you're talking through the text, and that's what he's burning. And then I like she was praying on his time of need, and he's now recognizing like that's exactly what cults do, and so he's recognizing she came to me in a time of need and took advantage of me, and that's exactly what I did to the people of my cult. And I think that is really, really well done. I really like this line, though. Anyone who knows me will know that I would. But I think that's really cool that he recognizes, like, oh crap, like I have sucked too. I have not done a good thing here. And it's not just in the sense of like, oh crap, I didn't know the world would actually end. It's in the sense of like, I actually treated my followers poorly. I think I like that. I like this seeped through the crack we chipped away in our own reality. I think that's a great image. So she absorbed them. So this is interesting because this phrase doesn't really work for me, but it is quite simply in its placement. And there are 2 ways that, or maybe 3 ways that I see that you could fix it. So one way is, cries turn sour as her true unholy nature seeps through the crack we chipped away in our own reality. I remember hearing the vivid cries of my followers, her followers, as she absorbed them. They sunk further into her embrace until there was nothing of them left. That would totally work for me. Another thing, you could just take it out and just start here. That would work as well. When I was trying to figure out what to recommend, my other option was she pulled them into her embrace, and there they stayed, screaming faces and writhing limbs to enhance the horror. But you don't actually need that, because this, I mean, if you want to be extra horrific, you could do that. But this works. Like, this sentence works. It is quite simply where it is placed. That going from, like, cries turn sour as her true unholy nature seeped through the crack we chipped away in our own reality. She absorbed them. Like, the transition of that doesn't really work for me. And I don't know if I'm describing it well, but it seems almost comedic. Like I say in my little comment, it kind of brings to mind a Jell-O monster. Like, it goes from this very vivid description of, like, we chipped away at our reality, and then it seems like a gelatinous cube is like, but if you went straight from, vivid description, of, here's the crack, to vivid description, that would work for me. It's just the simplicity and the verb used that doesn't quite work. And like I said, it does work if you put it in this sentence. If you put it at the end, it would totally work for me. It's just on its own, its own thing. It doesn't quite work. But I do like the idea, like her embrace is like a little literal, like, okay, you're mine now, you're me now. I think that works and is horrific. I really like this too. If I ran as fast as I could, then I drove as fast as I could. I think it totally like creates this image of like really trying to get away but unable to. And then I like this too. Like he knows, you know, hey, we're all getting absorbed, buddy. I am curious what the ending is meant to conjure, and I'm curious to hear what Arachnar said about the original ending. Because when I first read it, this was the thing that stuck out to me the most. That, like I said, I really liked the fact that he seemed to get, hey, I'm not so great. I did bad things. What I did was a problem. And I like that. I like that struggle. But then this last line of, I cannot help but slip a bittersweet smile, you know, to me read as like, you know, oh, actually I haven't learned anything. Like the whole story was about how I learned this was a problem, but actually no, like I still love her and I'm still into her kind of thing. A friend of mine pointed out that he was thinking that like it's more of like an addiction kind of thing, that it's like, I don't want to smoke, but man, like I'm smelling this other person smoking and oh, like it makes me want a cigarette, like that kind of thing, where it's like, I don't want to give in to her song, but I hear her song and like her hooks are in too deep, like I have to follow it kind of thing. And so I'm curious which one you meant, or if you meant something totally different from either. I think wry would have worked better for me. Like, I can't help but a wry smile would be kind of like, I don't want to do this, but I'm gonna kind of thing. But this brings me back to the revolver, because a critique I have for the beginning is that the revolver is brought up and then never mentioned again. It is literally a Chekhov's gun situation where you mention that there's a gun and it never comes up again. And it kind of seems like you wasted your words describing something that was not important to the story. And when I first read it, I just thought it was kind of like, oh, it's there for him to protect himself if like zombies come at the door or something. But I think, I still could be wrong, but I think it's kind of a Jack Sparrow situation. I think it's like, hey, you have a bullet and it's for you, kind of thing. And I think that for me, it would have been intense, but it would have worked really well. Both solving the revolver problem and solving the like last line problem, is if he looks at the revolver. If that's the last line, if like that lovely singing grows ever so faintly, even through my terror, I cannot help but slip a bittersweet smile. I turn to the revolver. We'd be like, oh, I know what he's about to do. Like he's about to save himself from a worse fate by inflicting a terrible fate on himself. If that is what you intended with the revolver, I think that would have been a terrible but great ending. Let's see what folks have been saying. Lennox says, ooh, I got chills. Nice. Agnes says, I think it was changed. I remember a different tone when I read it the first time, if I'm not mistaken. And I really appreciate this version. So what was the original tone? Do you remember, like, more? I don't know if Hellenic... So Death says, how much did I miss? And Hellenic says, gibber sweet nothingness. And I don't know if Hellenic is saying, Death said you missed gibber sweet nothingness. Or if Hellenic is responding to what I said about sweet nothings, that's saying she gibbered sweet nothingness in my ears. I do think that would have worked better for me. Like, the sweet nothings phrase is the issue. But yeah, it's funny. Well, and Helena corrected it to nothings, and it would not work for me. If you just changed like gibber, it wouldn't work for me. It's the sweet nothings part. If it was sweet nothingness, that would work. Arachne says, on the subject of the girlfriend aspect, I think the imagery and the religious ardor, even if the sentiment has somewhat passed, satisfy that term a lot. It makes a lot of sense to reinterpret the idea of girlfriend as cultist, their object of worship, when the language employed is that of love. Scare quotes on love. Very fair. Chekhov is approaching your location. Amazing. Arachne says, one can intellectually get that something they enjoyed is terrible but still enjoy it. In fact, that makes the whole idea of being related and referencing a romantic relationship, specifically a terrible one, stronger. Like, I know she's the worst, but I'll still melt again when I hear her voice, which is the sentiment I get from that. That makes sense, for sure. But this was a great story, MQI, a great debut. Let us go on to Hellenic Taoist. How do I say this word? Hellenic Taoist. I think that if I was just doing it on my own, I'd say Schutzatefel, I think is how I would pronounce it, but I don't know if that's correct.
Good little sleepy kid.
Schutzteufel. Okay. Schutzteufel. Alright. Before human era. Schutzteufel. Hellenic Taoist. Doubt and anxiety made an oven of my heavy apprentice robes, as the disguised succubus led me into the Chateau Papillon tea house. I nearly fainted with relief when she led me into a tastefully appointed office with a chestnut desk, burgundy carpet, a pair of comfortable-looking armchairs beside an empty fireplace, and not a bed in sight. Make yourself at home, the diviness said, moving towards the desk where rested kettle, porcelain tea set, and a gas torch like those used in the alchemy lab. While my hostess prepared tea, I walked over to inspect a painted map that hung on the north wall. I was lost in admiring the detailed texture with which the cartographer had painted. I blinked. No, not painted. Pinned to the map were hundreds of flower petals in every imaginable shape and color, at least one from every province of every country on Earth. One in particular caught my eye, a fan-shaped purple petal with white along its fringe, and looked uncannily like one I'd seen in my natural history text. What's this one called? I asked, pointing to it. She came up to me, smiling distantly. Tasselortrith. You should have seen the bouquet. So you're not a succubus, then? She lifted her eyebrows, politely surprised. Tasselortrith went extinct 1,000 years before the first humans awoke. Incubi and succubi only evolved 8,000 or 10,000 years ago. If someone gave you a bouquet of them... She gave a surprisingly maternal smile as she rubbed my head fondly. You clever boy. You're right. Despite my smell and my feeding habits, I'm not a succubus. Just like you humans, I woke up one day and realized I had been alive for a long time. Unlike you, I was never a child, and I never grew old. She looked at the map again, face slowly growing somber. She lifted her finger up and gently caressed an unassuming yellow petal in the heart of Cradle. If you've studied dead religions at all, you may have heard me referred to as Tirima, goddess of the lover's afterglow. Throw out those taillights and tentacles. Cheer for this story if you loved it. Alright. This was a great story, Hellenic. I really liked just the idea, and the thing that really shines in this story is that image of the map. Like, it seems so cool, this idea of a map that is just covered in flower petals. I think is awesome. Oh, there's the timer for the other story. I guess I will restart it. That was kind of perfect. Yeah, I love this idea of this map, and I think it's really cool that you know that you use the flower petal to talk about like the past and stuff, and how he knows like like this flower means something, and I think that is really cool. I guess we'll just go from the beginning. I really like this image of doubt and anxiety made in oven by heavy apprentice robes. I think that is great. I do have a little critique about the Chateau Papillon thing. The first thing I was thinking is that your words are precious, and we really don't need to know the name of the tea house. All we need to know is it's a tea house. And so, and I do still stand by that we don't need to know, and you can save yourself 2 words. But I realize that actually the bigger issue with this is that it seems almost like it's a descriptor, like the Chateau Papillon tea house, almost like it's an adjective. And it would work much better for me if it was, she led me into the tea house. The sign on the door read Chateau Papillon. I think that would work a lot better for me. It would cost more words, and you really don't need to say what the name is, so you really don't need to do that, but that would work better for me. As is, it actually really detracts from the important part of the sentence, which is tea house. And so if you had just said, the succubus led me into the tea house, I would really, really get what you're going for. I would really get like, oh yeah, it's supposed to be a tea house, but it might be a naughty place. And I was gonna say, but as is, like, with the Chateau Papillon first, and it, like, italicized and stuff, I actually missed, the quotes at first, and so I was just like, yeah, it's a tea house. And so, like, so yeah, I think that, adding that phrase, hurt you a little bit. I do think that it's kind of fun that he's like, all right, succubus is leading me in, what do I do? And then it's like, oh, thank God there's no bed. I think that's fun. I do think that you don't need to describe as many things as you do. Like this, I mean, it kind of goes back to something we often talk about like, how much of the visuals do you describe? And usually the visuals are the first things to go because they aren't necessary to understand the story. And I do think that this story did end up falling a little bit into the trap of describing the visuals a little too much. That I do think just saying, I nearly fainted with relief when she led me into a tastefully appointed office with comfortable looking armchairs and, what I was gonna say is she led me into a tastefully appointed office without a bed in sight. Yeah, I guess that would work. But I'm realizing as I say that part of the point is, here are the things that are in the room. A bed is not one of them, so I guess you would lose a bit of that. But it does cost you a lot of words to list what's in the room when we really the only thing that matters is there's not a bed and the map. And so simply saying, into a tastefully appointed office without a bed in sight would work quite well. And then same thing here, where we really don't need to know what's on the desk or what she's making. And this is a lot of words that you could actually use to enhance some other parts of the story. The make yourself at home is cute. And then, like I said, the map is my favorite thing. I do feel like I'm a little torn on some of the descriptions of the map, because like I said, I do really like it. And I think that what you're going for is kind of a Van Gogh style, that there's very thick brush strokes, and so it's like the flower petals just look like very thick brush strokes, which is really cool if that's what you're going for. And like detailed texture, I think was like you trying to say that. But I do think that saying that a little more directly, of saying like the thick brush strokes, would be really helpful. Because I definitely got the image of, like, when I think of painted map, I just think of a very flat painted map, my mind doesn't automatically go to those thick brush strokes. And so I think that, I don't know what other people thought, so you can definitely disagree if you totally thought of the thick brush strokes immediately. But I think, saying something like, I walked over to inspect a painted map that hung on the north wall. I was lost in admiring the thick brushstrokes with which the cartographer had painted. I think that would, get me faster, help me make the connection faster. I guess you could even use something like, I walked over to inspect a thickly painted map that hung over the north wall. I was lost in admiring the detailed texture. I think that also might have got me to that. So I just had a little bit of a trip when I first read it, where I was like, I had to rejigger my brain and how I was thinking about it. Not that big a deal, but just could help that much more. I don't know. This feels very nitpicky, so I could be totally wrong about this. But so I blinked. No, not painted. I like this. Pinned to the map were hundreds of flower petals in every imaginable shape and color. It felt a little odd to me to go from no, not painted. I'm expecting the next line to be, here's what it is. And the next line starts with pinned to the map, and it doesn't start with answering that question. The sentence does answer the question, and that's part of why this feels maybe too nitpicky, because you do what that sentence is supposed to do. But I do think saying something like, I blinked, no, not painted, or something, I blinked. It wasn't paint, it was flower petals. Pinned to the map were hundreds of petals in every imaginable shape and color. I think that might work a little bit better for me, but like I said, that could just be me, or I could be being too harsh. I really like this detail of that they're from every province of every country on Earth. Like, there are a lot of countries on Earth, and even that might be a lot of flower petals. But every province in every country, that's an insane amount of flower petals. Like, I don't know how big this map is, but it seems like it might be like ginormous. But oh man, like, I can just imagine how absolutely stunning and gorgeous this map would be. And so I really like that image, and it shows like this person has lived a long time. Like, they've lived long enough to travel to every province on Earth, and it shows that the person who made it, presumably Tirima, that she really, like, it shows a care, right? That she's like, I like flowers and I like the world, and I'm going to use the flowers to make up the world, to make this, art piece, this labor of love, that, shows the beauty of the world. I think that is so cool. And it, like, that act is like this hidden thing that seems to show maybe some more goodwill in Tirima, that she doesn't hate the world or hate humans or something like that she actually has dedication and care and can see beauty and stuff like that. And then I like I said, I really like the like, oh hey, like this one is catching my eye, because he knows it might not exist. and so when she's like, oh yeah, like, you should have seen the bouquet, he's like, I know a little something about that, and now I know you're lying. I think, like I said, I think that's such a cool thing, a cool writing device. I just saw Ragnar say ad for condensed milk. Amazing. But I like that. This, so I'll show you what it used to be. I don't know that this is necessarily wrong, but it is odd to have this person is talking and then have an action from the other person. It works if it's like, so you're not a succubus then. She lifted her eyebrows, politely surprised, and I continued. That could work, but as is, I kept kind of reading it a little bit off, because I would read it as if it was like a dialogue tag, an action tag for him. And so having it be like, okay, he says something. Now the other character reacts. Now he says something more. Works a little bit better for me. And then, yeah, I really love all this, that it's like, hey, they're extinct, and like incubi and succubi weren't actually around when it went extinct. So if you got a bouquet, then you are older than humans and incubi and succubi. And I think that's very cool. What was I gonna say? I was gonna say something else about that. Not remembering. I like the little maternal smile and head rubbing. I don't know. We can talk about their relationship at the end, but it seems to show like goodwill, and that she maybe isn't gonna use him for the naughty times. Then maybe she's like, oh yeah, like it's okay. I'm not gonna eat you, honey. I don't know. That actually is a great transition into the next part. So, the question here is, despite my smell and feeding habits, I'm not a succubus. For me, the thing that I understand as the definition of a succubus is a demon that feeds on sex. And so, if you feed on sex, you are by definition a succubus. Like, there are lots of different series. There's lots of different, like, sometimes they come in dreams, sometimes they don't. Like, there's different lore about them. But the one thing that seems always the same is that. And so, for me, like, that is my definition of a succubus. And so when she says, like, oh, despite my smell and feeding habits, I'm not a succubus, I'm like, I'm gonna need a little bit more to understand why you're not a succubus, because right now it's seeming like you're a goddess succubus. That you are still a succubus, you're just also a goddess. So yeah, you kind of, I think, played yourself, at least for me, with that line, that in the very line where she's trying to say she's not, to me, it like kind of proves that she is. So I need a little more for that. See the gif in the lots of private chat. So this line right here, this is the line that tripped me up the most, as I read it. So, just like you humans, I woke up one day and realized that I'd been alive for a long time. So there's a couple of things this could mean. This could mean, just like you humans, I woke up one day and realized I was old, because I do think that happens to people. That people are like, one day I woke up and I'm like, wow, like, I'm old. Like, I've been alive for a long time. The next thing is that the next line is, I was never a child and I never grew old. Kind of seems like she's saying, I woke up one day and I was alive. Like, that's how I came to be, is I woke up one day. And realized I'd been alive for a long time completely contradicts that idea. I guess another thing it could be is something like, I was in a coma for 5 million years, it's like that kind of thing. But I don't really get what she's saying, and the two pieces seem to contradict that. I can't relate to that. And so it's like, just like you humans, I woke up one day and realized I'd been alive for a long time. It's like, what do you mean, just like us humans? How do I experience that? That seems very not human. But like I said, it could be that she's just saying, I realized I was old. But I'd been alive for a long time is quite an odd way to say that. And so I think actually saying I realized I was old, would work a bit better for me in that case. And then I like this image here too, and this idea. I do feel like if this is from a real religion, I am not aware of it. And so if this is meant to have like, whoa, mind blown, she's Terima, I don't really feel that. And so there are a few things in this story that are kind of maybe like brought up and abandoned, as I say in that comment, that, this, how do I explain it? Like, I don't need the extra information to understand the story. I can understand it perfectly as is, and I can enjoy it and stuff like that. But there's like a question of like, okay, he's an apprentice. What does that mean? What's he an apprentice of? And then she's a disguised succubus. Well, how does he know that? He can smell her. How can he smell her? You know, how does that work? And then, you know, what is she gonna do with him? Like, is she gonna feed on him? Or is she, like, wanting to be more motherly? Like, especially because this is for Eldritch girlfriend. Well, she's not really acting like a girlfriend. Like, he kind of thinks that she's gonna be a girlfriend, at least in one respect, and then she's not. And so I don't know if that's the use of the prompt, that it's like, oh, I thought she was gonna be my Eldritch girlfriend, but we good. We have dodged that bullet. Or if it's like, the naughty times they be coming. And if so, I was not clear on that, especially, like I said, with the maternal smile and the fun, you know, head rub, the how she seems very, like, caring and dedicated and stuff, and not like she's just gonna eat him and kill him and throw him away, or whatever happens when she feeds. But yes, let me see what folks have been saying. The universe name is Guardian Devil. Interesting. Papillon's butterfly. So Chateau Papillon is butterfly house. Nice. Well, it says back in the Edo period of Japan, tea houses had a connotation of a brothel. Yeah, I was thinking that's what it meant. I was thinking that was the intent. But like I said, I think I would have got that immediately if it was just like, the succubus let me into the tea house. I'd be like, this be a naughty house. But without that, my brain skipped over it. Imagine succubus as that it's a 10 out of 10 but as a voice of Roz from Monsters Inc. Is that the like oh, it's been so long since I watched Monsters Inc. Is she like the front desk lady or customer service or whatever it is, the desk lady? To drink the naughty tea. Mako, why are you saying objection? Lennox says, "Oh, I agree. Your formatting looks better for that part." Fair enough. Yes, that was who I was thinking. Hellenic offered a picture. And Mako says, "What was the world like back then, and who gave it to her?" Definitely another question for sure. That's for we as the readers to question, for her as the eldritch creature to know. Yes. Basically, she's saying it's a form of convergent evolution. I see. So she's saying she evolved to feed that way, and succubi and incubi evolved to feed that way, but she's not them. She's not the same as them. Arachne says, succubus is a specific characteristic, like, for example, in D&D lore, in which they are a distinct species. It makes sense for the distinction to be made. Others might have similar feeding habits and ways of behaving, but not belong to that category. Okay, so it looks like others weren't having the same confusion as me. She's referring to how humans don't remember when they're babies. Interesting. So she's saying, like, humans are, okay, let me think about this. Like, humans are babies, like, they grow up, but they don't remember all of growing up, and so they wake up one day and are like, I've been alive a long time. I still think that's kind of an awkward phrasing for that idea, because when you're a baby, you remember it. It's not like blackout, and then suddenly I'm a 5-year-old. You know, it's like, you do, like, as a baby, you know you baby, and you have a consciousness and stuff. And you don't black it out. It's just like that. Those memories slowly fade away. And so I can't really relate to the idea of, like, I woke up and I was a 5-year-old. I relate to I forgot kind of thing. Ragnar says there's a character in Gunnar Krigg Court that remembers she's at least as old as the cooling of the earth, but she can't be sure if she's even older, just can't remember it. It seemed like a similar situation. So Ragnar seemed to understand that too. The bouquet was given to her by an elf. Interesting. Just trying to make a joke if a chat would move too fast. It was going to be like, the flower went extinct millennia ago, and you got a bouquet of them. Then you are an immortal. I don't get the joke. That seems like exactly what's going on. Hellenic says, my original draft was 1,600 words, so this was trimmed down with hedge clippers. Fair enough. Ragnar says, for most people it is a blackout. People usually don't really remember anything from before 3 or 4 years. They remember what their parents tell them. That's not what I mean by blackout. So what I mean by blackout is that, because it is like black to me too. Like, I don't remember. I mean it in the sense of like, I had to get surgery one day, and I was really freaked out, and a nurse came in, and like we were talking about how I was freaked out, and she was like, well, I can give you some medicine, but that will calm you down, but it sometimes makes people forget things. And I was so freaked out, I was like, yeah, I'll take it. And so I did, and I don't remember anything after that. I remember being wheeled through doors, and I don't remember anything after that. So that's what I mean by blackout, that it's like, I remember, like, I remember what came before, and then nothing, and then moving on. That's not what happens when you are a baby. It's not like, oh yes, I was toddling around, and then black, and then here I am, 5 years old. It's more like, oh yeah, as you grow, you remember. Like, you don't have a blackout moment like I had when I had the surgery. You know it's happening, but as you grow, those memories fade away. And so now, at this point, when you're older, now those memories are black. Now you don't remember anything, but it's not like, boom, like all of a sudden, here I am, like at the time when you actually are experiencing it. I don't know if I'm explaining it well. But yeah. But I think this is a great story. I would definitely be curious to read more about these characters and see where things go between them, stuff like that. But thank you so much for submitting, Hellenic. Just go on to Shinigama. If you guys want to unlock Lilidieva's story, then make sure you cheer during the story or during the praise and critique of the story. And I apologize in advance if my accent don't sound so great. Alright. Getting a Goth Girlfriend by Shini, radio show. The genie's mighty frame hovered over me. His arms were folded across his muscular torso, while his ancient eyes glared down at my wobbly, rotund frame. His goatee was a glossy black and nicely trimmed. I rubbed my scruffy neckbeard in shame and nervousness. "Your wish," said the genie. "Speak it." "Goth girlfriend," I mumbled. "Louder!" he boomed. "I would like a goth girlfriend." I breathed hurriedly. "Speak clearly, man," he snapped, making me almost drop my extra-large cup of 7-Up. I closed my eyes and yelled, "I would like a goth girlfriend!" I opened my eyes. The genie still glared down at me. He gave no indication of his thoughts on my request. "I see," he said. "Your wish is my command." He snapped his fingers and disappeared with a flash and a cloud of smoke. My heart pounded painfully from both nervousness and excitement. I couldn't believe it was finally happening. All those hours fantasizing on the internet were finally going to come true. I made a mental note to buy deodorant on the way home, and also hide my body pillow when I got there. "Hello, Shotzi!" trailed a harsh, deep, yet strangely feminine voice behind me. A slap on my back knocked me to my knees, making me drop my drink and gasp for air. As I spluttered on the floor, I glanced up at an enormous woman, twice my height and girth. and with biceps 4 times as thick as mine. Beneath her iron helmet sprouted 2 long braids of hair, while over one shoulder loomed a massive battle axe. "Mein Gott!" she exclaimed. "Du are such a weak little junge!" She grabbed me by the back of my collar and began to effortlessly drag me away. Looking back, I saw the genie hovering there, a slight smile on my lips. "I said, Goth girlfriend," I choked out. "Your wish is granted," said the genie. "I traveled back 2,000 years to get her." "What?" "Gromschatz," cried my Visigoth Freuden. "I must make a man out of you, and then together we shall conquer the Romans." And throw out those taillights and tentacles. Cheer for this story if you loved it. That's awesome. Wolf posted a little gif. End world hunger, end world poverty, big titty goth girlfriend has 3 buttons, and then Bongo Cat pressing the final one. Instructions unclear. Here's a Visigoth woman. Mako, tailloids if you insist. Arachnar, no tailloids, Kaylee. Amazing. It's gonna be hard to get used to. I love this story. I think it was so much fun. When I was reading it, when I got to this paragraph, I had to stop for a moment because I was like, I think I get the joke. I think she's gonna be a Visigoth, and then I kept going, and she totally was, and I was like, yes. It's great. I love it. So this is one where the physical description does work, especially because later the story is going to say, if it'll work, that she is twice my height and girth, and biceps 4 times as thick as mine. And so, like, if he's a skinny little dude, then it's not going to be as hard for her to be twice his height and girth. But we already learned that he is rotund, and so it makes it extra impressive that she is twice his height and girth, which is awesome. I also think it's kind of hilarious to use the word rotund to describe yourself. It's like, I'm so rotund. I'm wobbly and rotund. I think that's cute and funny. And then I rub my scruffy neck, beard, and shame and nervousness is a great way of describing his emotions. So that's a great way to use the visuals to actually mean something, is to convey he feels ashamed and nervous. It's great. I absolutely love the girlfriend, and then like a goth girlfriend. It's a great progression. I absolutely love it. It's so funny. And then the cup of 7-Up is just, it's a small thing, but it adds setting. Like, I'm totally imagining them like outside a 7-Eleven now, unless they already said that. Yeah, I don't know if it does, but like once I got to the 7-Up, it was like, yep, here they are outside 7-Eleven. And I love that so much. And also, I was chatting with a friend about this story, and I was like, usually genies give you 3 wishes. It's not that big a problem, but it is something that caught me. And he was like, maybe the body pillow was his first wish, and the 7-Up was his second wish, which I think is amazing. And that is now my new headcanon for the story. Like, I'd like a cute anime body pillow. All right, wish granted. I want a 7-Up. All right, wish granted. You really can grant wishes. Maybe I could ask for something bigger and better. Like a goth girlfriend. And then, of course, the trope of the genie giving you what you want, but not exactly how you wanted it. Always a fun trope. And then I love it was happening after hours of fantasizing on the internet. Very funny. Gotta buy deodorant and hide my body pillow. Also funny. Then I've just imagined this giant Visigoth woman calling from down the street of the 7-Eleven, amazing. And this is a great description. I can totally picture that. Can't really do it, but I could totally picture it. And then all the images here are fantastic. I don't know if she's a giant lady. Either he's very short or she's Goliath levels of big, but regardless, it's amazing. I love it. And then I love that he traveled back 2,000 years. Very, very fun. He didn't just materialize a goth lady. He actually grabbed her from the past. And it's yes, here is your new boyfriend. I think it's great. I do think that the one thing that stuck out to me as I read it is I feel the Visigoth actual word being said should have been said by the genie. Because the main character seems to not understand what's going on. He's I asked for a goth girlfriend. Who's this? And he's what? And so then for him to automatically be yeah, she's my Visigoth Freudian. I know what's going on here. Doesn't quite work. And so I do think this is actually one case where saying it directly, just saying, your wish is granted. You have a Visigoth girlfriend. I traveled back 2,000 years to get her. I think would work actually better for me, even if it's more telly and on the nose. And then I love the conquer the Romans part is great. I love that. And I'm also curious, especially because he didn't just materialize her, he grabbed her. That what he said to her to kind of convince her hey, I have a man for you. You have to, travel to the future, 2,000 years, but he's your man. Because she's totally yeah, we're together now. She doesn't seem to be confused as to what's going on. She knows this my boy now. And so, it works without the information, but I'm just so curious what conversation happened to make her be on the girlfriend train. And also I want a sequel now of him trying to teach his Visigoth girlfriend about the modern world. It would be so great. I have a possible husband for you. Yeah, exactly. And that is an interesting thing that he doesn't say I want a goth wife. He says I want a goth girlfriend. Which might be better for him that he didn't have to automatically commit, but I feel she's probably thinking she has a husband now because she probably doesn't understand what a girlfriend is. But let's see what folks have been saying. 3 wishes, 3 buttons, amazing. You're just a little roly-poly guy. That's awesome. Some genies give only 1 wish. Fair enough. Never look a gifted genie wish in the numbers. Nice. Maybe don't free genies at all. Some of them are willing to kill people because they were trapped so long. I mean, I guess it depends on your view of genies, but some genies can't do anything unless it's wished for. She teaches him how to contribute to society. He teaches her about the modern world. He teaches her about modern society. She teaches him how to contribute to that society. Got the girlfriend, less talking, more push-ups. Yes. Assuming twice the height must be an exaggeration. Otherwise, either she's a giant or he's about 3 feet tall. Yeah, absolutely. Don't gotta hide the body pillow, just the degenerate case. What I don't know what that means. You mean the you take the anime case off of the pillow? Yeah. Interestingly, people were shorter in the past, probably poor nutrition and such, so she may well be a unique figure. I was kind of thinking of that too, yeah. Also, a little nitpicky, but 2,000 years would put her back from the era of Jesus in Judea. Maybe a little later than that, I guess. Fair enough. Ed Kennedy, he's a short king, yes. Short, rotund king. Amazing. But yes, this is so fun, so cute, such a great little take on an Eldritch girlfriend. Amazing job. Well, it is now time to announce our prompt for next week. When I last checked, there's one that kept being in the lead. And we'll see if it still is. Whoa. This is looking weird. Things are looking extra blue for some reason. Oh boy. Alright, okay. So, throw in those drum roll emojis, the little moth drum rolling gifs if you have them. In third place with 10 votes is Carry the Flame. Great little prompt. Not our prompt for this week though. Then in second place with 11 votes is Funky Immortal Boy. That is the one that I submitted based on what we were talking about a couple streams ago. Glad you guys seem to like it, but not our prompt for next week. Our prompt for next week is a tie. Each with 20 votes, we have... we have Lost in Translation and A Date with Death. So we have two options here. Either I can vote and can break the tie, or you guys can do a poll in the Twitch channel. What would you guys like to do? Oh, Kurisu, oh no, I just got here. Oh yeah, you just got here at the end, but it's still great to have you. And you tiebreaker time! Oh yeah, I need to pull up the actual stream chat to see what other people are saying in the Discord. Oh my, yes. I guess Aerith is voting for me breaking it. What do others vote for? Why does it... Oh, there we go. Now it's looking more yellow. I'm cool with anti-tiebreaker, says Marks. Which is hilarious. Like, anti-tiebreaker is almost... Sounds like you're saying that I'm not gonna break the tie. I'm against the breaking of the tie, but no, it's anti. Alright, this is A Date with Death, but Death doesn't speak your language, and that, like, combo of the two. Amazing. I think I'll wait for one more vote. If I get one more vote for me breaking the tie, then I will do it.
Oh, kitty bitties. Kitty bitty books.
Who's the one who submitted the Lost in Translation? Because this is actually a prompt that we've gotten before, and it's as far as I remember gotten to the finals before, but it's one of those prompts that's very sporadic, that it comes up on occasions. Oh man. That says run a poll. Freaking ad runs here. Oh no. And just, I think it was Norman who supplanted the prompt. Gotcha. Who else says I don't remember? Well, we got 2 votes for me doing it, and 1 vote for a poll. I guess we all know it was a tie. I don't know what. Okay, there's our 3rd vote for me breaking it. All right, I'm going to vote. I'm going to shine. It's It's like, I was like, all right, Auntie, you break the tie. Shines with power. So I'm actually gonna vote for Lost in Translation. And I'm kind of voting for it for that reason of what I just said, of Date with Death keeps coming up, and I'm certain that we are going to get it again. But Lost in Translation is one that's a little more sporadic and less likely to come up, or less likely to win. So I'm going to pick that one. Oh, I guess I can put a well, now there is a 21 up there without me even doing it, but there you go. Which says, I thought you might. Lost in Translation's been around for a long time. How long? Phenomenal cosmic powers, yes. Alright, so yes, so now our prompt is Lost in Translation. So this makes me think of the ideas of like, I think it was like a Tumblr post that went around where they're like, you know, like those horror movies where like the people find the ancient texts and stuff and then they're in perfect English, and the idea was that the that like either it's just totally in another language or it was translated from another language, and so it sounds really weird and clunky. And so this prompt makes me think of that idea of like, oh yeah, like I have this like spell to summon this Eldritch entity, but like it's translated weirdly and so it doesn't work kind of thing. It can and then of course you can also use it for a much more like a literal translation of the prompt of just like two people are trying to communicate and it's just there's a language barrier and we're struggling to communicate. Our communications are getting lost in translation, and that word lost is can be something interesting to play with. I think that's part of why I think of the like summoning rituals thing, because lost feels like it's been a long time. It feels like whatever this thing, it's lost to time. It's not just like a misunderstanding today, it's something that is lost. You could also use that for things like it could kind of be like a grander, sadder thing of like there are languages that we will never be able to understand because it's just completely lost. Languages we will never know existed because they're lost to being translated. Or artifacts we will never understand because we don't understand the language that is written upon them. And then you can also go with things like, maybe someone finds an artifact and they try to decipher what it is, and they're like, it reminds me of, what was that prompt? But there was like a story, I remember a story of like, it might have been Shinigama, who is like, yes, like here we are in the future, we have found this thing called a phone, and we see that there's this thing on it called the TikTok, it was like there's like a god called the TikTok, and they do like fertility dances to the god of TikTok. Like this totally feels like you could go that direction. You could even go with that kind of thing of like being in the far future and us being lost in translation, or you can talk about the past and like, yes, here's a vase. It was used in fertility rituals, and then the ancient Romans are like, we used it for a booze. What are you talking about? That kind of thing. That would be fun too if like you could do something like that they're trying to translate it and they're lost for how to translate it, and then there's like some time travel shenanigans, or it's like, all right, we gotta go back to Rome. Hey buddy, what does this mean? And even that, I mean, I guess you could even use the prompt itself as like someone time travels to the past and they can't speak the language. They're like, darn it, all my time travel dreams are shattered because I don't understand what's happening here. that kind of thing. It could also be like things that sound really funny in other languages, where it's like, oh yes, like here's this phrase, and it's like, in my language that's snotty, you know, kind of thing. Ragnar, you can still write about a date with death when she doesn't know or refuses to speak in English. Totally. We've got a lot of bilingual and polyglots among us, and I think that prompt brings some ideas on how tone, expression, even some stories themselves always lose something in translation. Yeah, very fair. You could totally write something a little more real or biographical, where it's like, yeah, I tried to write my story for the archive, and it feels like something was lost when I tried to translate it from my native language. You totally could do that. Do be careful, though, because we do have that rule about, you know, the stories being in English. And the reason that rule exists is because, firstly, I need to speak it, and I'm gonna have trouble speaking other languages. And second of all, I need to be able to critique it, so I need to be able to understand it. So sure, like with what MacBoy Zen did last week, if you want to have like a sentence or a phrase in another language, that's okay. But it ain't gonna work to have your whole story or a large chunk of it in another language. So, a quick warning there. Let's see. Lots of chat over here. I could dust off that Tower of Babel story a little while back for one of my stories. You could, totally. Should Jonathan go to Japan again? Sure. Mistranslations or ADHD brain can't remember the right word. Yeah, you could do something like that, where it's not so much a literal language barrier and more like, my brain no worky. My brain ain't translating your words into my brain very well. Translating can mean other things than just a language barrier. Yeah, totally. Justice says there's also the classic "no man can kill me. I am a woman." Surprise Pikachu before getting killed. Totally. Also the infamous situation where explorers try to understand native ideas, but misinterpret the nuances of the concept, leading to dangerous misunderstandings. Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of words in other languages that like have, I mean, I guess you can use like I think I said before that I've been reading the Noragami manga, and in the manga they call the creatures from the far shore Ayakashi, if I remember correctly, or Arakashi, something Kashi. And in the anime it's translated as phantoms, and they have translators notes in the back, and the translator's note was that this word is a lot more like yokai, like it is a whole category of supernatural beings, and saying phantom doesn't really cover that. And so yeah, you can totally do that sort of thing where it's like, this thing covers a wide range of things, but in your language I have to be more specific. Our very world is shaped by the languages we speak. Seeing the world through a new language changes it. So too, dealing with different languages, living in two different worlds. For sure, yeah, that's totally. I feel like, I don't know if this is how you meant it, but I feel like it would be interesting to do like a bifurcated story where the top half is like, here's this character on this side of the world with who speaks this language and they have this view. And then this other part is like, here's this character in a similar situation on the other side of the world who speaks a different language, who has a totally different view of the world, kind of thing. Corian says, one of my favorite, one of the U.S. presidents said, "Ich bin ein Berliner." The crowd laughed because what he actually said translates to German as "I am a jelly donut." That's fantastic. Yeah, you could do something silly with it for sure. Yep, and Arachnid says translation doesn't have to be about languages. Elda says it might have been debunked, the president's story. There are also possible translation processes, like adapting something between different media. Yeah, for sure. That you're like, I mean, it could even be about like a writer who wrote a book and they're like, we're making a movie of your book. And it's like something is getting lost in the translation. It's not working for me. That speaks to Marianne, yeah. Ocarisa says, I love that used for ritual purposes is just archaeological jargon for it. We have no idea what this was used for. Indeed. So I've played with the idea that demons use the term translation to refer to how they manifest in the material world. Interesting. There's one language that doesn't have concrete words for numbers. Curious. The Makeup says, what's that animal? Kangaroo. Means, I don't understand you. That's awesome. Think of the word love in English, how many meanings and versions love has, not to mention the lack of agreement on what love means even among native speakers. Very true. And then you can think about how, like, in Greek, they have a bunch of words for love, and, like, how does that change how they see the world differently from us? So language that doesn't have words for numbers, 1, 2, etc. They have nothing, a little, a lot, and a large amount. Interesting. Yeah, sorry, don't get the reference in Chimera. Yep. Alright, says agape, eros, philia, all very, very different, but all still translated as love. That's awesome. Miko says, Cruise, I had an idea for a story where that happens, except the woman is defeated as well, and the villain amends, no man or woman can kill me. And then a person who was thought dead or injured says, bullshit, and drops down on him with a dagger and gets the kill. Awesome. So, like, no living man or woman, but the dead can do it. Nice. Let's see. Plot twist, he was indeed a donut. That could be funny too if you're like, something's getting lost in translation here. It's like, no, I actually am a donut. Nothing's getting lost. In the book Regina's Song, a bunch of graduate students are sharing a house, and because of the plot, a bunch of reporters swarm the house. They went out to give statements from the porch in other languages to spite them and waste their time. They're all languages like Spanish, German, Italian, Russian, etc. Then the main character goes up and starts talking, and even the other housemates are like, what? And they ask him what language that he was. He says, English, as spoken 1,000 years ago. Yep, you can totally do that as well. Absolutely. Interesting. Some discourse as to what killed the Witch King of Angmar was the combined efforts of Eowyn, a woman, and Pippin, or Merry, a hobbit. Nice. I'm very excited to see where you guys go with this. So, if you are not read here on the stream, you are not out of luck, because our Discord is awesome and they do backup readings. They happen in the writing group chat and the writing group voice chat, and you can go and you can submit your information, your story, to the backup queue. You can do it right now. It's first come, first serve. There's a lot more discussion, back and forth discussion in the voice chat, and it is just a great time. They usually happen at 5 p.m. Central Time, if I didn't say that. So yes, come join if you are interested in getting more feedback on your stories. Join us or else, and then something in another language. Nice. No man can kill me. What about many men? That feels like a Julius Caesar situation. Yes, I have had a good time. I hope you guys have had a good time. Had a good time. Thank you guys so much for the cheers and the subscriptions. I'm so glad that we got that working, and I really appreciate all the support. It means a lot to me. So, yeah. I don't know why I was about to say throw up those taillights and tentacles. It's just so ingrained in my brain. I even want to say it at the end. But yeah, I hope that you all have a good night, a good day, good night, good evening, good morning, whatever time it is for you. And I hope that your invitation to next week's stream doesn't get lost in translation. Goodbye.